Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am, if you can believe it, if you can wrap your mind around the concept, I am Mr. Warren Hayes. Thank you all very much for being here on the Raw Recap Show. This is what this is, the December 10th edition of Monday Night Raw. That's what we're going to be talking about this evening. Not a bad show by any extent. Not a great show either. But, hey, yeah, whoa. Am I getting a bit ahead of myself? I do believe so. Because before we start talking about the show, we have business to settle. We have stuff that we have to get out of the way, that we have to take a moment to appreciate as well. Such as everyone who is joining the Warren Hayes Show tonight live in the chat directly, because if you're watching this in the future at some point in time, I do these live 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right after, well, not right after, a half hour after Raw. I do these live here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, and we have a bunch of people over here. We have Kristen Ashley, who's here, JPQ, of course, and Jason, moderators extraordinaire, legendary JF. We have Anthony from Smart to Death. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. We have Jay King, who's with us as well. Thanks to everyone for hanging out, for being here. And thank you for watching. If you are indeed watching this at some other point, which is not live, such as on demand, or in the future, or at some point in time, I appreciate that. It's so fantastic. So, and you know, if you are watching right now and you're watching for the first time, why don't you consider like giving this a thumbs up? If you're watching it live, why don't you do right now? And also consider subscribing. I have a subscription goal. I'm only asking one thing for Christmas at this point in my life, in my adult life, and that is to get 200 subscribers before hitting Christmas. That's my Christmas gift. That's what I would like. That's all I want. Do I want money? No. Do I want a car? No. Do I want a hi-fi, high-fidelity stereo system? No. Do I want world peace? No. I want 200 subs by Christmas time. So if you're not subscribed, consider doing it. I'm not even going to annoy you with the bell stuff. Just consider subscribing, and eventually, you know, you'll see my face pop up in your feed. You'll be like, oh yeah, that guy. Who's that guy? And then, you know, you'll probably click, and then you'll rewatch, or you'll watch some new content, and you'll be like, oh man, I must have been drunk when I subscribed to this guy's channel. All right, so let's get a few programming notes out of the way before we go forward. Tomorrow, Tuesday, SmackDown Live, of course, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be right back here live to do my SmackDown Live recap show. Then on Wednesday, it is my usual 205 Live NXT recap show over on FightfulSelect.com. FightfulSelect.com, the premium service of Fightful.com, the fantastic combat news, combat sports news website. I swear, 1 week I'm going to get it right. I'm going to put the words in the proper arrangement. So we're gonna do that. You go see that. You go do that. You get the Fightful.com, pro wrestling, MMA, boxing news. FightfulWrestling.com. If you go to that link, you get all of your wrestling news all packaged up into one place. And then on top of that, there's Fightful Select, which is the subscription service for Fightful.com, and I contribute there. I do stuff. I do, like I said, the 205 Live NXT recap show. These days, NXT UK, which I also cover for Fightful Select, NXT UK does quite a substantial amount of programming. They give us 2 hours of programming a week. So as long as they're doing that, I'm doing an extra show. I'm doing an exclusive 205, not 205, NXT UK recap show. Usually do them on Thursdays. Then on top of that, I also do retro pay-per-view reviews with Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor. We got Steven Jensen, who does the Weekender podcast, which covers all non-WWE programming, such as Lucha Underground, Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA. So you go check that out. Sean does the Fightful Select. What does he call it? The Fightful Podcast, I think he calls it, or the Fightful Select Podcast, where he covers some news, exclusives, and stuff like that. He does Q&A sessions. He does dark match commentaries. Go check it out. Starts as low as $5 a month. $5 a month. That's not very expensive for the extra copious amount of content, wrestling related content that you get there. It's amazing. Go check it out. It's worth the while. It's worth supporting an up and coming, growing, fantastic, legitimate, honest to God, good intentioned wrestling website such as Fightful.com. And then on Thursday, it's pay-per-view week. We got TLC coming up this Sunday, right? So on Thursday, I'm going to be doing my usual prediction show for TLC, and I usually have a guest on the show. I don't like doing these alone. I like to have someone to chat with. I like to talk to people. That occasionally happens. Am I good at conversations? Well, that's entirely up for the public to debate. That's out of my hands, really. But nonetheless, my boy Joe Soriano from Daily DDT, he contributor, writer, Renaissance man extraordinaire, will be joining me. A man I used to call boss will be joining me on Thursday to do the TLC prediction show with me. I cannot wait. That's going to be a lot of fun. Joe's he's got some fantastic insights. He's a very progressive thinker, and I think he's going to bring some interesting counterbalance to my usual nuttiness. He's going to probably ground me quite a bit, so that's fantastic. And then on Sunday, I'm going to enter the world of Smark to Death. I'm going to join Anthony. He's cordially invited me to join him on his TLC post show. So right after the show, I will be jumping on to Smark to Death, onto their podcast, their area on Twitch TV. Call me the man of a million platforms. That's where I end up. But I'm really looking forward to it. That'll be fun, sitting around with Anthony, because I think Kyle, from what I understand, Kyle is getting married, and that is fantastic for Kyle. I will take the proper opportunity to wish him all the best, he and his wife. I might also have been lied to in that regard, and maybe I just sound like a complete moron right now. But nonetheless, Sunday, right after TLC, come see me over on Smark to Death. It'll be a lot of fun. So I have everything. Anthony's correcting me. It's his anniversary. It's his wedding anniversary. Okay, so congratulations, nonetheless, on Kyle, on your anniversary. Maybe I hope you're watching, Kyle, because since it's just an anniversary, maybe I won't reach out as personally to congratulate you. If you'd gotten married, then I'd be like, they should maybe send him a bouquet of flowers. Since your anniversary, it's a thumbs up, good job. Keep at it. All right. Celebration of love for Kyle. So that's great. That's fantastic. So now, before we actually get on to the show, we have one more piece of business to handle, and that is bowl predictions. Every time that we have a SmackDown or a Raw show, I hit the Twitter timeline and I ask the Twitterazzi. Oh God, I don't know. There's a word I never want to. There's a word I never want to hear out of my mouth again. Maybe I can edit it out. You live one? Okay. So, I go on Twitter and ask my timeline, everyone who cares to listen, give me your boldest predictions for Raw. In this case, for Raw, right? And I ask, and I ask for the boldest, wildest, most out there. No limp noodle predictions is the only rule to bold predictions. So, let's go right ahead and see what the fine folks on Twitter today have in store for us. This is a little small, isn't it? Don't you guys find this is a little small? Hang on a second. Let me fix this. I'll just boost this up a bit. There you go. Isn't that a little better? That looks a little better. There we go. Noah Andrew Foster joins us on the bold predictions to begin with this week and says Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman will float the show and destroy Baron Corbin, and the new GM will be Matt Hardy. Also, Sarah Logan breaks off from the Riot Squad and joins Bray, who is forming a new, I guess he meant to say, Wyatt family. How's that? That's bold. I like it. And that I was kind of hoping to see Bray tonight because, you know, he's had a return to the ring recently. And he's also, he's been tweeting about his identity, how, he's being very mysterious about his, who he really is and so on. So I was looking forward to it. Hopefully he'll be back around Royal Rumble season. That would be fun. But good job, Noah. Thank you very much. Amy O, a stalwart of wrestling Twitter. Finn Balor comes out and grins at everyone while throwing his arms up his entrance. Suddenly, his eyes narrow, his smile hardens, and out comes Gallows and Anderson in leather jackets to match Finn's. They run down the ramp and declare themselves the new heel faction of WWE again. There we go. That's a very bold prediction. Something they've teased us. Feels like a year ago, but it's only been a couple of months ago. Before Gallows and Anderson were sent to SmackDown. I don't know why they never followed through on that. It's so weird. But that would be fantastic. Thank you, Amy. The legendary JF plays as well tonight. And he says Leo Rush will become a children's singer. And point to Lashley's heads, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. It's only funny because we're talking about it here, because honestly I wouldn't want to see that. Kind of reminds me of when Baron Corbin was singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider to Finn Balor. But I thought this was really, really funny. Good job, legendary JF. Headlocks and horror chimes in. Baron Corbin declares that Braun Strowman cannot compete at TLC. Just as he is about to name himself the permanent GM of Raw, the music hits, and we hear, "I'm afraid I have some bad news." And Wade Barrett returns to WWE. That would be something. That would be extremely shocking to see that. Good prediction there, Headlocks and horror. Now, this is still very small, isn't it? Whoa, wait a second. We'll just boost this a little higher, There we go. Just give this a bit of a boost here. There we go. All right, so Jamie, Cannonball artist, says, in his grief of destroying the life of his tag partner and best friend and the rage of not being able to stop Corbin, Heath Slater begins to take out members of the locker room one at a time, guerrilla style, off camera. His new heel finisher, the Gore. And there's a nice animated GIF of a rhino there. That would actually be really interesting. And like Heath Slater just falling off the deep end. We're going to talk about obviously Heath Slater during the show, but this would have actually been a nice idea for him. Good prediction, Jamie. Good job. Josh LeBlanc Josh LeBlanc says, now follow me here. Okay. All right, I'm all ears, Josh LeBlanc. The show starts with no chance as Vince McMahon himself walks down the aisle in a very serious tone. He takes the mic and says he's tired of insulting the fans' intelligence. It's time to give us what we want. Al Snow's music hits. Yes, because that's all we want. That is the secret to success. We want head. That's all. It's just as simple. Good job, Josh. Jay King, who's still with us here this evening, I believe. Corbin opens the show and says that the fans are Grand Metalik wannabes. Then he says, LOL, XD, Raw is Jesus, fuck y'all. Then suddenly, I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. Hits the sound system, and Carlito is announced as Corbin's opponent at TLC. I don't know. This is probably the most random sequence of events possible. It's just stupid enough to make me cry with joy. This was fantastic. Good job, Jay. And finally, you have JPQ here, who says, Raza is a 3-hour reenactment of the Nutcracker. Clara is Bailey. Drosselmeyer is Elias. Sugar Plum is Sasha. The Nutcracker Prince is Seth, of course. Mother Ginger is Mickey, which is actually freaking great casting. And the Rat King is Corbin. I'm actually thinking that Leo Rush would be a really good Rat King, too. Roster fills out the rest of the cast. 10:55 mark of Raw. Camera pans out to see Finn smiling, having the dream. Ah. That's so good. That was really good. Good creative casting there, JPQ. Good job. Those were yours and mine bold predictions. How's everyone doing in the chat? Is everyone enjoying it? Oh, looks like people are enjoying yours, JPQ. Legendary JF says, reminds me of the Care Bears Nutcracker. I don't remember the Care Bears Nutcracker. What's that? Well, Mizzy, good to see you. All right, let's do this. Let's get into it. Let's get into Raw. All right, so first and foremost, Seth Rollins comes out. Well, no, he doesn't come out. He's already in the ring. And his theme song is playing. And they're burning it down. You hear the burn it down. You hear it again and again. And I like about 6 times. I believe that there has been a blatant overuse of burning it down tonight. Someone has to scale it back a little. Someone needs to be told that it's not the quantity, it's the quality. That's what makes it fun. Because then how do you know when to chant if you just keep dropping burn it downs here and there all willy-nilly? It makes no sense. Anyway, Seth Rollins is there, and he says, he wants Burn It Down to be his rallying cry against Dina TLC, and it will be the theme tonight because he's ready to spit some truth. And he says it's not time tonight to think about Dean Ambrose. Really? Because you've got a pay-per-view match next week with them. But no, it doesn't matter. It's not time to talk about Dino. It's time to extend an invitation to Corbin. He invites him to the ring, and Baron obliges. He comes down, and he says, basically, Seth tells him, I've got a bone to pick with you. We've got stuff to talk about. Baron says, my door is always open. We could have this conversation in private, but Seth doesn't care. He wants He wants to tell him some stuff, and Seth starts a shooting. He's straight shooting in the ring. He's going off script. He's just going wacky nut bar bananas. No, it's all in script. They want to make it sound like he's shooting, but he's not. Basically, he tells Corbin. He tells Baron Corbin, under his leadership, Monday Night Raw has sucked. That all he's been doing is putting himself forward, first and foremost. He says, you have an amazing tag team like the Revival, and you have them in Lucha House Rules matches. What's a Lucha House Rule match? I don't know what that is. And frankly, no one else does. He says you got you and McIntyre and Lashley. You're all patting yourselves on the back. What are you going to do? Give us more segments on urination? Ah, ha, ha, ha. That's really funny. Brock hasn't been in a match on Monday Night Raw in 16 years. He shows up whenever he wants to show up, and he never wants to show up. Basically, Seth Rollins here is the internet. He is the embodiment of the internet. He says fan support, morale backstage, and ratings are all at an all-time low, and it's because of you. Corbin says he appreciates the feedback. Said, but the proper way to do it, you should write it down. He says, slip your suggestions under my door, and I'll file it under I don't give a damn. And you think it's bad right now? It's only going to get worse for you, Seth Rollins, when I become GM. And then the usual pissing contest happens, and this all leads to Seth challenging Corbin to a match, to a TLC match right here tonight. Corbin doesn't want to do it. He starts calling him a coward over and over and over and over, and poke, coward. But he makes the match. Baron Corbin makes the match, but he makes it for the IC title. So, I liked this opening segment because this is exactly the type of shot in the arm that anyone who'd watched Raw for the past couple of weeks needed to feel dragged back in and compelled to watch, because basically Seth is saying, you know what? We have it all set up. We understand we're at fault here. We're not making really great decisions right now. So we're gonna try and fix these, but we're aware of it. Hell, if this hasn't been someone in WWE scouring through the WWE's various hashtags on Twitter over the past couple of weeks, I don't know what it was. Talking about the Revival, just saying how mistreated the Revival is, that right then and there is 100% Twitter feed right there. That comes from nowhere else. And it was a good, energetic way, a very meta way to start, like the work shoot kind of situation. Of course. Now, so this is how the segment left me. I was pumped up. First and foremost, anyone who has a doubt as to whether or not Seth Rollins can carry this company should be completely erased here tonight. Look at the task that he was tasked with. Vocabulary. He was sent after 2 weeks of utter trash to go out there and say, look, you're the face of the audience. You're going to be the guy they're going to relate to. You're going to get them fired up for the rest of the evening tonight. You got to make these people excited. All right, fine. He grabs the mic and he does fantastic work. The thing is that, everyone who keeps saying, why isn't Seth Rollins in the title picture? No one believes in him. He's getting buried. No. He's not being buried. This is proof that WWE completely understands what Seth's role in the company is. they know how much of an attachment, a natural attachment he has with the audience. So it's a question of time, if you ask me, before he truly is elevated back into a Universal title picture. Because he showed that he can be the star and the face of the company. He bookended this show with 2 fantastic performances. No one on this show tonight was able to deliver like he did. So that's the thing that got me most excited. To look at the position they had put him in and like, okay, this is a position of confidence. They would not have left anyone do this. Not sure they would have even had Roman do this. Or they would have, but it wouldn't have got the same reaction. But then a little apprehensive. I'm like, okay, look, if you're staring down at yourself, let's say you're Vince McMahon and you're like, okay, I've made some shitty decisions. I'm aware of them. I'm going to try and fix them. If that's what your promo is about, then I'm expecting you to fix them. Right? So I'm a little on my guard. The promo ends, everyone starts going away, and I'm like, okay, so maybe we got some good stuff on tap tonight. Maybe these bad decisions are going to slowly fade away. Well, we get a 3-on-2 tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championships tonight. We have a press conference with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey. Oh, and we get a Drew and Dolph rematch. So, pardon me if my expectations, if my excitement is suddenly tempered, because if you're saying that we're going to try and fix the mistakes of the past by doing the exact same shit that got us here in the first place, well, you haven't learned much, haven't you? Oh, and the Revival that was just lauded as a fantastic tag team. Why are they floundering around in these stupid matches? They weren't even on the card. They weren't even on Raw. They taped the match for Saturday night, apparently. And guess what? They lost. They lost to whom? Lucha House Party in Lucha House Rules match. So I'm wondering just how much smoke and mirrors this is. I really wonder how far they're really going to do any changes. Anyway, and here's the last thing. I wrote this down here. This is really weird. WWE are champions. I think they're undisputed champions at messing up surefire feuds. The Miz and Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, Sasha and Bayley, Dean and Seth. These are all built-in, ready-to-go feuds that they somehow manage to mess up for some peculiar reason. They're doing it again with Dean and Seth right now. The build-up to their TLC match, the feud, went from here, excitement, anticipation, and has been steadily going down to the point that Seth tonight said to himself, "No, I'm not. Never mind Dean Ambrose tonight. I'm focusing on Baron Corbin." The match is Sunday, and this is one of your marquee matches. Dean's been running around. He's been hiding. He's been getting inoculations out of vets. Because I've spoken about this before, right? The length of the syringes that were used. That's only at a horse doctor's would you find that. He didn't go to You know when they say when they go to a medical facility and they never, in WWE, they say they go to a medical facility. They don't talk about hospitals. I think there's a reason why. I think they send them to vets now. But the cool thing is that the match that they were able they decided to put a focus on Raw as a show and just like, okay, well, we need to do a reset, we need to do something important, but it's very much at the detriment of the Seth and Dean feud, which I think they've sort of admitted to themselves that, well, it's not going where we thought it would go, but it was Dean was booked way too silly for what it was supposed to be. How's everyone in the chat doing? John Baez has joined us. How you doing, John? Bob Ruski, how you doing? My voice isn't as deep as yesterday's show. That's right, not as deep as when we did Kings of Chat Style yesterday, where we had a bit of a problem with my voice. I sounded a little more husky. Kristen says that I'm the oldest nerd she knows. I think that's a compliment. And she's placing her bets that this is leading to a Roman resurface, maybe coming in a little earlier than anticipated. But yeah, let's see what happens. AOP with Drake Maverick. 3-on-2 versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. It's a 2-on-3 match for the Raw Tag Team Championship. AOP get the Jobbers entrance. They're already in the ring. Their theme is playing, and I'm shaking my head. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable get the full glorious entrance. Both of them have their little spinny rotators, which is weird. It's weird because I really thought that they were going to pull the plug on this team earlier than this. That, Chad Gable was just this annoying guy that was hanging on to Bobby Roode's coattails, and Roode was going to be, at some point, was going to be like, look, kid, I'm done with you, and was going to turn heel finally. But no, they've decided to legitimize this tag team. So Roode and Gable are a thing now. Rezar is quickly all over Gable to begin with, starts pummeling him down, and he takes Roode out. Gable goes for a kick, but but Rezar catches his leg and then clotheslines Gable down. They tag Drake in, who goes for the tag, but only gets one. Then he quickly tags back out. Because, of course, nothing will help get Authors of Pain over more than turning them into a comedy routine. Gable and Roode double team the AOP, and they toss him to the outside. Then they go after Drake and they arm drag him. They launch him over the top rope to the outside. Drake Maverick flew. He flew. The heels are back in control as we return from commercial. Drake is working on Gable, but he tags out again very quickly. And the AOP double team ya boy Chad some more. Gable eventually gets the hot tag. Roode goes off the top rope, but Akam catches him with a big belly to back suplex. Roode eats Rezar's knees, and he covers him, but Gable breaks it up. They hit the Super Collider, but Gable gets out of it with a Hurricane Rana on Akam. Drake then tags in and goes to pin Bobby Roode, who reverses it though, pins Drake Maverick, and Chad Gable and Robert Roode are your new Raw Tag Team Champions. Now I want to know who in this situation looks good. No one looks good here. They have completely messed up AOP's call-up from the very beginning, from the start. They bring them up. They have them do a couple of matches. They have nothing for them for 3 months. They come back. They finally give him a manager. Then the manager starts taking precedence because, oh, he's so small. They start doing the comedy thing with him. He pisses himself. Then AOP become a part of this stupid routine. So AOP has not been treated properly, not like the way they should be booked or the way they were booked in NXT. Makes no sense how they're being treated up here right now. That's the first thing. Second of all, Drake Maverick, they've been pushing this aspect since he became manager of the AOP. Oh, he's turned this around. What a genius. What a mastermind. If he was that much of a fucking genius, what the hell is he doing screwing around in a championship match where the one guy is pinned, he's on the mat, he's done? Why did he insist on tagging himself back in to go cover the guy when he could have just let Akam or Rezar, I don't remember who it was exactly, was in the ring, who was legal at that moment. Just let him do the pin. It's for the championships, you moron. Oh, well, it's his ego that took over. It still makes him look like a moron. If you're establishing him as some devilish genius, then don't make him look like an idiot. Right? And then, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable don't look good either. Look how they won the championship. They pinned the little guy. They didn't even beat AOP proper. No one wins in this situation. No one wins in this situation. How you doing, chat? Bobaruski says Drake screwed them. Yes, he did. Jay King says, Roode and Gable are your new tag team champions. Who really gives a single crap? Well, we'll see how this goes from here. Jason agrees, in my opinion, AOP got screwed. JPQ says AOP can now be rebuilt without Drake. I don't know if they're going to be dropping Drake Maverick from the routine. Anyway, we'll see. JPQ asks, who's been booked as well as they did in NXT? I think Asuka when she came in, for sure, absolutely. I would dare say Andrade Cien Almas. Like he got some high profile matches coming in. There was a lot of confidence. We haven't seen him in a while, but I think he was very well managed. Those are the two that come to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has been booked extremely solidly since he came up. A few people like that. Kristen says Nia Jax. Yeah, I agree as well. Drew McIntyre. Going to NXT did him the world of good. Natalia's in the ring next. She's emotional. She says, Ruby doesn't respect anyone in the business, anyone or anything. Ruby, you made this situation between us personal. You kept saying, I have everything spoon-fed to me. Remember the Montreal screw job, Ruby? We're in 2018, and WWE is still bringing up the Montreal screw job. Let me go through the promo. We'll just go through this first. Remember the Montreal screw job? Basically saying, my uncle punched the owner in the face, so I had to battle up against that. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. No. She dedicates, so she's saying that her TLC match, she's dedicating her match to her dad, Jim Neidhart, and she legit starts crying. She's very emotional at this point. Then Ruby Riott comes out with her squad, and she says, you need to get yourself a good counselor. You don't represent the Hearts. You're a disgrace to your family. And she says, I got a little something for you. And they had brought out a table. When I say they, is the Riot Squad, Liv and Sarah. And they have a table and it was covered. And they propped the table up and they removed the cover. And there's a big sticker of Jim Neidhart on the table. And Ruby says, this Sunday at TLC, when I put you through this table, you and your daddy are going to be closer than ever. Okay, all right. Let's walk through this. This was, okay. There were just a couple of... I don't know how to start. Okay. Natalya's promo overall was very authentic. She was speaking in earnest. You could tell that, it's still very raw for her. And I can only imagine how you feel to lose a parent. Must not be fun. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me yet. So she begins her promo. She does her promo, and there is this feeling of reality to it, this legit emotion. And then they bring up the Montreal screw job. And I think it's so tacky. I think it's super tacky to try and get her over using that. You're bringing back something that most of us, I would say a substantial amount of the audience, has moved past. Like, we understand the historical implications. We still like to, hear the stories about it. But at some point, we've sort of all moved past the Montreal screw job. So it's like bringing it up is kind of cringy at this point. It's kind of like when you go to a... It's kind of like when you go to your class reunion, and you meet up with a guy that who you were friends with, like like in high school, that you haven't seen since high school. You haven't seen him in at least 12 years. And like you used to drive around in his car or something, and you always played the same, you always had the same cassette. Yeah, you always listened to the same songs. You always listened to some Boston, you always listened to, I don't know, Boston. And then, so you see him, he's like, dude, I'm so glad to see you. And hey, you know what we should do? We should totally rock out like we used to do. And then he goes on the dance floor. He goes and sees the DJ, and he asks for that one song from Boston that you guys always listen to in his car. And he goes and he asks the DJ, and the DJ said, all right, on a special request for Warren's friend Bob, and it's this Boston song. And then he's in the middle of the dance floor, and everyone sort of moved away, and you're like there, and he's like, yeah, man, just like back then. He's like, come on, man. And you're like, no. It was cool back then, but now it's just making me feel bad. This is kind of how I felt about bringing up the screw job at this point. More than a feeling. There, that's a thank you, John. More than a feeling. But that's exactly how it felt to me. Plus, it's such a dichotomy, because as much as Natalya's promo felt natural when she was talking about herself, when she was talking about Jim Neidhart, about Anvil, the Montreal Screwjob thing just felt so shoehorned. It just felt really, really fake in there. And then Ruby Riott comes out. She does a spectacular job. She sounded like a comic book villain. She kind of like a Harley Quinn, It's like, you don't think it. I'm exaggerating. She wasn't that bad, but it's like she sounded like a comic book villain. And how could you not have something more comic book villain-ish than having the picture of a loved one, of a dead relative on a table, saying, I'm going to drive you through it, which is fine. I thought it was just callous enough to work. But there were two completely different levels of intention in the delivery of the promos. Whereas on one hand, you had a really natural, emotional promo, and the other one was just so over the top. It was really strange. It was really, really strange. So anyway, so that'll set up their match for TLC. Next we have Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler in a 50-50 booking match. I mean, if there was any way to telegraph this ending more than putting the Dolph and Drew's rematch the week after Drew took a pin, well, I mean, come on. Dolph beforehand, he does a promo where he basically says, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm just Dolph. All right, whatever. They talked about Finn not being there because of the injury he sustained due to Drew McIntyre's beating last week. While in reality, Finn does have an undisclosed condition or something happened because he was sent home from the tour of South America that they are currently on, or at least they were on this weekend. He was sent home early. No real reports as to why, but they said that he'll be ready for Sunday. So hopefully, maybe it was just like a stomach virus. Drew was basically saying, that he cuts a quick promo before he starts, basically downplaying the fact that he got pinned last week. He says, no one stays undefeated forever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but it kind of matters. It shouldn't have been thrown away like that, but that's I talked about it last week. I'm not going to get into that again. He says, but, even though I took a loss, I'm not any less dangerous. So Dolph comes in. He comes in striking, but he's chopped down by Drew. Overhead belly-to-belly suplex by your boy McIntyre. We come back from commercial, and the Scotsman has Dolph on the turnbuckle. Some shenanigans ensue. Drew comes off the top rope with like a fireman's carry into a driver kind of thing from off the top rope, and Dolph landed square on his shoulder. That must not have been comfortable. He covers Drew, but Dolph, but only gets two. We're outside now. Drew tries to suplex Ziggler onto the floor, who wiggles out and rams Drew into the post. Hard. Dolph gets back into the ring, but almost doesn't beat the 10 count. Drew starts taunting Dolph. And then Dolph takes out his knee, hits the zigzag, covers Drew, but only gets 2.9. And the match comes to an end swiftly thereafter when Drew hits a Claymore for the win. And then after the fight, he goes after Dolph some more. Referees, officials come to break up the fight, but he's still able to sneak in a Claymore right to Dolph's head that bounces off the LED screen that surrounds the ring. That must not have felt good. Must not have felt good. So that was that. Not much of a match there, folks. Not much of a match pretty much throughout the evening, I'd say. We get a recap of this Slater and Rhino situation just to make sure that we're all clear that Heath Slater is now a referee under the thumb of one Baron Corbin. Bayley versus Alicia Fox is what's next. Sasha comes out with Bayley. And Jinder and the Singh Bros come out with Alicia. So we got a whole mess of people around the ring. Bayley has backup. Alicia Fox has backup. And then they fight. Alicia gets aggressive on Bayley, who fights back with a flying elbow off the second turnbuckle. Covers, but only gets two. Alicia keeps Bayley grounded for a while until she starts battling back. She gets a side suplex. She, being Bayley, gets a side suplex in. She drives Alicia into the corner. But Alicia gets a really big kick on Bayley. The Singhs start to use some distractions. And but Apollo Crews comes running out and backdrops Samir Singh to the mat. Or was it Sunil? I don't remember. One of the Singh brothers. He gets back up and he eats a severe Meteora to the mouth, courtesy of Sasha Banks. And Apollo then picks up Sasha Banks and presses her, gorilla presses her, and tosses her onto the male heels. All three of them, including former WWE champion Jinder Mahal. And Bayley hits the Bayley to belly for the win. Again, not much going on here. This was mostly a commercial for the Mixed Match Challenge tomorrow evening, because now Apollo Crews, the reason why Apollo came running out is because he's Bayley's new partner in the MMC since Finn is out. This year's Mixed Match Challenge, I haven't watched it because I'm doing this instead of watching that. I haven't seen anything. It's been cursed this year. Braun, Alexa, I'm forgetting someone right off the bat. Braun, Alexa, Finn now, AJ. There's been a bunch of people who've been taken off the Mixed Match Challenge. It has not been a good time for that as far as continuity goes. We have Elias in the ring next. He says he heard I love this. He says, I heard Bobby Lashley today do an interview on the radio. Did you guys hear about this? Did you hear about this? He says he did an interview saying that, that he's happy that all the cool sports teams are moving over to Los Angeles. His words, not mine. And he generates some great heat right there for Lashley. And I thought that was really funny and stupid. And it's a great way to get your hometown heat by reversing it like that and then going, his words, not mine. That was really funny. He says hitting children with his guitar isn't at the top of his list. We see a picture of him cracking the guitar on the back of Lio Rush, just in case you're wondering if Elias is actually conducting assault on minors. He's not. But he made an exception just that night. And now tonight he has a match against Lio Rush. So we get Elias versus Lio Rush. Referee, Mr. Heath Slater, comes out and he looks very dejected. Rush uses his speed at first to avoid Elias's offense, but he gets in a pop-up press slam. He lifts your boy Lio Rush by the arm and slams him down. Elias tosses him across the ring. He tosses him right. He whips him into the turnbuckle, and Lio lands so wrong. So wrong. It's like he flies between the turnbuckles, like half his body does. And he does this twitch where this is what I posted on Twitter. It looked like he suddenly split between two dimensions for an instant, for a blink. That did not look good. Rush battles back with a handspring kick onto Elias, who's on the outside, being distracted by Bobby Lashley. But he gets some kicks in. He tries to fight off Elias, but Elias gets a last ride in. And then Lashley runs in and attacks Elias, but Heath Slater doesn't ring the bell. And Lashley is intimidating him. He's telling him things. You didn't see anything, man. You just let me do my thing, man. Or something like that. Lashley hits a spine buster on Elias. Lio Rush goes for the guitar, and Lashley smashes the guitar across Elias's back. Lio covers and gets the win because Bobby Lashley intimidated Heath Slater into counting, and Lio Rush has beaten Elias. It was nice to see Lio Rush wrestle on main roster. Would have been nice if it had been less of a storyline necessarily, and maybe actually get a real match in. I think it's really interesting here. Backstage, Baron Corbin congratulates after the match Heath Slater for doing a good job out there. And I think it's interesting, this concept that they're developing with Slater, whereas, he's kept his job, he has kids, and he he's going to do what Baron Corbin tells him to do, because otherwise he's out of a job and he has kids. And when you think about it, even though Heath Slater has been off of television for months at a time, it's really interesting that just by saying the words, "I've got kids," people still get that. They still understand it. They're still behind it. And it all makes sense. It's still making sense. When he came to the ring, people were chanting, "He's got kids." So it still connects. People still remember it. Is it perfect, a beautiful example of long-term storytelling by WWE? Hell no! But it's still nice that they're acknowledging this past. How's everyone doing in chat right now? How you guys doing? Hey, Chris Spizak, who loves my Christmas backdrop. Thank you, sir. Jay says, sad that Bayley and Sasha in 2018 are being used to advertise some stupid show on Facebook Watch. Yeah, I think their time is going to come very, very soon. Kristen is not, and it does not like Lio Rush. And yeah, there you go. What else? What else happened tonight? Oh, we had the face-to-face interview, or the what was supposed to be a press conference. Alexa Bliss comes out. A press conference between Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey, not WWE, Raw Women's Champion. Now, so Alexa comes out and she's alone. Now, maybe someone didn't quite understand that usually when you do a press conference, there's members of the press. Like there's journalists, right? There's people with microphones working for publications who would like to inquire about things, ask questions. The fact that Alexa comes out alone, I'm like, okay, this is nothing. So she hits the ring, and before she can say a word, Nia Jax's music hits. She comes out with Tamina, and she hits the ring. Now she says, "I want to make a statement. I will become the Raw Women's Champion." Okay. She says she doesn't talk trash. She's a 6 foot tall, 300 pound Samoan woman. And she is the embodiment of the anti-Rousey. Then she goes for the Becky Lynch heat, talking about the punch. And it's not working. It's not getting much of a reaction anymore, is it? Nia says she's a strategist. She's also a strategist. And she basically lays out her strategy on what she's going to do to beat Ronda Rousey. So she's not that great a strategist. Or maybe she's a really great strategist, but she's just a moron for telling everyone exactly what she's going to do. Ronda Rousey comes out. She has a microphone. She says she didn't come out to hit her poses and talk about fighting. She's here to fight. She hits the ring, and for some reason, Nia and Tamina feel that 1-on-2 is bad odds, so they hit the bricks. They scram from the ring, but then surround it, and they're about to inch their way back in, but Ember Moon comes to back up your girl Ronda, and then we get a match. Now, before we get to the match, here's the thing. Nia Jax, the face punch thing, face smasher, face crusher, it's not working anymore. It's done. I had talked about this a couple of weeks before. whatever your opinion is on whether this legitimate injury that she provoked, that she made, that she perpetrated, caused on Becky Lynch, maybe she whether you think it's a good idea that they're using it in storyline or not. Nia doesn't. I had said that Nia doesn't have the character depth or the promo skills to carry it any further than what it is, and it's going to die a sweet death very, very quickly. Now, she came out at Survivor Series a week after Becky Lynch had been injured to tremendous heat, because of course it just happened. She just was tagged into the ring during the Survivor Series match and people were booing her out of the building. But it's been going progressively slower. Now, you can make an argument, a very simple and true argument, that, well, Becky Lynch within 10 days was back. So of course that sort of kills your heat. Yes, if she had been shelved for a while longer, maybe this could have maintained a little more gas. But Nia just doesn't have the charisma, or I keep repeating the same words, the depth of character to come across as a convincing heel, as the convincing heel that WWE want her to be. That's for sure. And we're getting the proof right here. It's been weeks now that we've been going on with this. We're all, she's been clutching her hand and talking about hashtag face crusher. But it has run its course. People are just done with this. Yeah, Becky's back. Becky's fine. Good. But had this happened to someone who could manage heel heat, who could generate actual heel heat, maybe this could have been elevated a little better. A lot better. But right now, it's on a nosedive. A complete nosedive right now. She's about to face plant. Ooh, face crusher face plant. J. King says, I heard they use Nia Jax's theme as a torture device at Guantanamo Bay. And he says that she has as much charisma as a cheese wrap. And Kristen Ashley doesn't know what a cheese wrap is, so please chat. Advise dear Ms. Ashley what a cheese wrap is. Anyway, so Nia Jax's moment in the sun is just about over. Hopefully this will come to, hopefully Becky will cash in her receipt at Royal Rumble so that we never have to speak of this again. I'm really looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we get Tamina versus Ember Moon. Ember Moon, again, looking fantastic in this match. We come back from commercial. The match has already started and Ember's on fire. She gets a big drop kick that sends Tamina to the floor. Nia and Ronda Rousey have a showdown on the outside as Ember and Tamina get back in the ring. Ember goes for a springboard something, but Tamina kicks her right on the chin, and Ember tumbles to the outside. She whips Ember Moon into the corner, splashes her. Tamina gets Ember into a chin lock right onto the mat. Throat punches Ms. Moon, whips her back into the ropes. Ember rolls out of the way. She kicks Tamina back into the corner. Awkwardly gets a Hurricane Rana on her. Had a little trouble connecting on that one. Face Crusher by Ember, goes for a cover, only gets 2, but Tamina then gets a power slam, which only gets 2 on the cover as well. Ember hits a pair of knees to Tamina's face. She's going to the top rope. Nia interferes, but Ronda dumps her to the ground, and Ember hits the Eclipse for the win. Good action from Ember. She's something special. She's special. There's one thing that we have to keep in perspective here is how fantastic Ember Moon's inclusion into the Ronda Rousey Nia Jax storyline is gone, because she's been able to glean a bit off of this feud, continue being in a proper spotlight, showing that she's special, that she has the tools to be very, very much a part of the future of the women's division in WWE. She's fantastic. Someone backstage really likes her, for sure, to be putting her in these matches. She's so good. So good on her. Back from commercial, we have Charlie Caruso, who asks Baron Corbin if this match is an abuse of power, and that there are rumors that Braun Strowman might be back for TLC. And Baron says it's all unsubstantiated internet rumors. Is there such a thing? Main event. Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin. A TLC match for the Intercontinental title. And Heath Slater is your referee. And commentary, as I am quick to point out, that doesn't really matter, because the ref basically is just there to ring the bell at the end, because it's no disqualifications. There's no pinfalls. There's no countouts. There's no submissions. Just whoever grabs the belt, and then the ref goes like this, and that's that. So, not quite sure. So the match starts. Seth goes after Baron Corbin really quickly, stomping him in the corner. Corbin can't suplex Rollins, who tosses Corbin to the outside. Rollins follows. I'll get the names right. Check this out. Rollins takes it to the outside, and he slams Baron's head against the apron. He goes for a chair, but drops it on the outside before leaping back into the ring over the top rope, because Baron Corbin had got back in. But he eats a right hand midair, and Baron Corbin orders Slater to go get a ladder. So then you're starting to see here, okay. Corbin is he didn't want as much a referee in here, but like an official flunky, someone who's involved in the match that could just do his bidding. So Slater never really gets that ladder into the ring. Seth knocks Corbin down. We get back from commercial. Corbin is back in control. Corbin picks up a chair and starts laying it across Seth's back. A couple of really harsh strikes across the abdomen. He takes him to the outside, drives him into the barricade. Seth drop kicks Corbin to the outside against the ladder. And he gets the ladder into the ring, but Corbin comes after him. Corbin suplexes Seth onto the ladder, the ladder is sort of leaning up against the turnbuckle post. So there's your first big TLC bump of the match. Corbin sets up a chair in the corner. He jams it in the corner, whips Seth into it, but Seth reverses, and Corbin slides under the turnbuckle, then rolls back in, hits Seth with a really big lariat that takes him down. Sets up a ladder in the other corner. No, not a ladder, but a table in the other corner. And Seth avoids being thrown into it. Corbin then instead tosses your boy Seth to the outside. Ladder is up in the middle. Corbin starts climbing up the ladder. Seth quickly runs up on the other side. They trade some punches. We get back off the ladder. Seth tries to regain control, but instead gets thrown into the ladder and again rolls out of the ring. Again, back from commercial, Seth is Corbin is working on Seth. There we go. Back from commercial, Corbin is working on Seth until he Irish whips Seth into the corner, into the chair corner. But Seth again reverses it. Corbin then once again rolls under the ring, runs back in, goes for the lariat again. Seth ducks it, hits an enziguri. Corbin gets back up, charges Seth, but Seth dodges, so Corbin hits the chair that's set up in the corner that he set up himself. Oh, the irony. Rollins starts laying into Corbin with numerous chair shots, but like over and over again. He must have gotten at least 8 or 9 in. Corbin rolls out of the ring. Seth dives onto Corbin, goes back in the ring, dives a second time, goes back in the ring, dives for a third time, but this time Corbin grabs Rollins and chokes him through a nearby table. Corbin gets the ladder set up in the middle again. He starts climbing up, but Seth runs in with a chair and he gives Corbin a good whipping to the back, and we're back on the ground again. In the melee here, Seth nails Heath Slater accidentally. Corbin dumps Seth to the outside. Seth flips out of an end of days out on the floor, tosses Corbin into the steps, a kick to Corbin, and he sets him up on a table, which is already there on the floor. So he grabs Corbin, puts him on the table. Seth looks up at the post, the turnbuckle post, climbs up, and delivers a frog splash from the top turnbuckle through the table on the outside on Baron Corbin. That was ridiculous. That was a hell of a spot. So he gets Corbin back into the ring, but Seth takes out Heath Slater. Seth buckle bombs Corbin into the table that was set up on the other corner. And he starts to climb up the ladder, but Heath Slater comes over and he starts... Seth goes up the ladder, but Heath Slater comes over and pushes him. I skipped over here. Seth goes up the ladder. Heath Slater pushes him off the ladder. And that gets Corbin back in the ring, but Seth takes out Heath. He does the buckle bomb spot on Baron Corbin. Heath pleads with Seth. Says, "No, man, look, I'm just doing my job. I'm stuck here." But he gets super kicked for his trouble. The stomp on Corbin. Seth climbs the ladder and retains. And someone told the timekeeper to ring the bell. I don't know who, because Seth was out. He had eaten a super kick for some reason. I don't understand. But that's what happened. This was a perfectly fine match, and I thought that the final third was really, really exciting. I really liked the finish of this, even though I messed up a bit the blow-by-blow here. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good ending to a match that was fine. They really built up the spots perfectly. It worked really, really well. I liked the match. It was a nice match. The thing here, again, that I pointed out at first, that this Raw was bookended by fantastic performances by Seth Rollins. And whenever it's time for Seth to go out there and shine and make sure that he's on top of the show, that he's delivering the best that he can deliver, look at what he does. He spins gold. I'm telling you guys, it's still a mystery as to why he's not top guy, and why he wasn't immediately put in that position when Roman left. There's a bit of a void, but I think we're getting there, and I think this is part of a natural push and will likely lead us into WrestleMania. As I kind of see Seth Rollins taking the belt off Brock Lesnar. I kind of see that. It makes sense. Oh, and Dean Ambrose came out with his Bane jacket. And they stared at each other menacingly. So that was Raw. Not like I said, not the worst we've seen. We've bared witness to terrible editions of Raw. So this is definitely a step up. But not a bad Raw by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but wasn't terrible either. I'm sorry if I ignored you, chat, too much tonight. What was the thing with... Where were we talking about? There was a McMahon in the chat. What is this all about? I don't know. I saw this as I was talking, and it just looked... Someone has to explain this to me. You can explain this to me on Twitter afterwards, because you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes. You can also follow me here on YouTube at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, in case you're not seeing this exactly on the YouTube and you're like, well, how do I follow this guy? That's how you do it. youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Please feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give a thumbs up. Feel free to come back next time, because there will be a next time. And that next time is tomorrow for my SmackDown recap. So thank you everyone for joining me in the chat. That was fantastic of all of you. Even you, Kristen. Thank you for coming. Thank you everyone for coming over. We will see you tomorrow for the SmackDown Live recap. And in the meantime, have a great time. And I'll see you next time.